I sat there and I thought about how the media portrays Black men and how that is typical of the things that they would focus on.
Oh, no, when I get nervous, I tell the truth.
Jason Lee. It's almost funny how often that name is the first flare in the night sky before things explode in the world of celebrity scandal. But this time it's different. This time, Lee isn't just stirring the pot for clicks. He claims he's holding a ticking bomb over the heads of the most bulletproof couple in music. Yes, Beyoncé and Jay-Z. Word is, Lee is daring the world to blink while he threatens to pull the pin, and for once, we're watching the queen herself actually sweat. Beyoncé, whose entire fortune is built on being flawless, reportedly panicking that the past she can't scrub out is finally leaking through the cracks. It's not just a marital spat or a bedroom brawl. The Carter's empire is facing the kind of fallout that could turn the word brand into a bad punchline overnight, and for once, it's not a manufactured crisis for album promo. No, this is the kind of trouble that gets your phone calls returned by crisis PR at 3 a.m.
I want you to think about this. Allegedly, Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyoncé.
Beyoncé is said to be scrambling because for all her calculated moves and surgically crafted image, she can't rewrite Jay-Z's history. The rumors swirling around what Lee has are ugly, and what makes them lethal is how they intersect with scandals that have never fully faded away, no matter how many platinum records and chart-topping singles the Carters pile on top. There's one name that never goes away, and that's Aaliyah. And if you're wondering why one long-gone singer's ghost still haunts Beyoncé's business, you haven't been paying attention.
She was unconscious. She didn't choose to get on that plane. There were phone calls made. There are witnesses who signed NDAs.
Aaliyah was 22. That's the first thing we all have to remember. Her whole life, her career, the future of R&B, gone. In less than a minute, when a twin-engine Cessna cratered into a patch of Bahamian brush, wings shattering, the engine torn away. The official line is almost as ugly as the conspiracy theories. The plane was at least 700 pounds overweight. The pilot, Luis Morales, wasn't certified for the Cessna 402B, and even that wouldn't have mattered. After investigators found he'd gotten his license by faking flight records and just happened to have banned substances in his system. The real kicker? Aaliyah never wanted to board. According to later testimony, she took one look at the plane and retreated, complaining of a headache, back to a taxi where she was left to sleep off a pill handed to her by a team member. She was carried aboard the plane unconscious, the kind of brutal detail that turns tragedy into fuel for 1,000 internet detectives. Aaliyah passed away on impact, her seat still buckled. It should have ended there, but of course, it didn't.
And then they brought Rich Harrison in, and you know, got me thinking so crazy right now. She liked posing with him in pictures for Page 6. Aaliyah didn't.
What followed was a feeding frenzy, the kind of chaos that only comes when the industry's darkest secrets get too close to the surface. Jay-Z's name started popping up in the wrong places at the wrong time, always a few degrees from the epicenter, never far enough to ignore. The tabloids never shut up about Jay-Z's alleged pursuit of Aaliyah, never mind that she was with Damon Dash at the time, the triangle. Aaliyah, Dash, Jay became a piece of lore. Conspiracy theorists can't stop connecting dots, and this one has more dots than a kindergarten coloring book. Was Jay just another hanger-on at Diddy's Hamptons parties in 2000, or was he, as some claim, actively chasing Aaliyah behind Dash's back? Damon Dash himself finally snapped years later, telling Page 6, everybody was trying to get to Aaliyah, it wasn't just Jay. There are photos, grainy, candid, all laughter and arm-slinging of Jay-Z and Aaliyah at those infamous Hampton soirees, Dash standing just out of frame. Was it innocent? Was it all just music industry posturing? The whispers say otherwise. And that's all it takes. Now imagine you're Beyoncé, supposedly in full meltdown mode, as this mess is dragged back into the daylight. Because dredging up Aaliyah's ghost isn't just about Jay-Z's romantic failures. The old scandals don't just stick to him. They stain anyone in his orbit, and right now, that includes the most calculated brand in entertainment history. Jay-Z is on paper just the loyal husband and business partner, but when you start poking at the timeline, the old stories, and now the lawsuits, it doesn't take a genius to see why Beyoncé would be losing sleep.
This morning, rap mogul Jay-Z is denying allegations he assaulted a 13-year-old girl alongside rapper Sean Diddy Combs. That civil lawsuit filed against Combs in October was amended Sunday to include Jay-Z. The accuser, identified only as Jane Doe, says she was assaulted by both men.
It's not just tabloid speculation anymore. The timeline has teeth. Aaliyah is gone. Dash is still talking. Jay-Z's every move from those years is back under the microscope. And right on cue, the Diddy saga is going nuclear. Enter the kind of civil suit that makes even seasoned gossip writers pause before typing. A federal lawsuit filed by Jane Doe has just been amended to name both Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs, accusing them of preying on a teenager after the 2000 MTV Video Music Awards. The details are repulsive. Jane Doe describes being lured by a limo driver, led into a party filled with celebrities, handed a drink that made her dizzy, then left in a room where the alleged assaults happened. Both Jay-Z and Diddy have come out swinging, each calling the lawsuit a cheap shakedown, a blackmail attempt, a publicity stunt. The lawyers are already drawing blood in the press. But for Beyoncé, it's not about whether the accusations stick. It's about the headlines, the hashtags, the cultural stain. Diddy's trial is set for May. Jay-Z, whether he's exonerated or not, can't simply opt out of the narrative. This is now the backdrop to every business meeting, every tour sponsorship, every time a child Googles their parents' names.
Weirdo. I don't get no what you got in your head, that Neuralink. You'll never outthink me. Ever.
So here we are, with Jason Lee allegedly sitting on more explosive tea that could connect Jay-Z to Aaliyah's demise, Diddy's parties, and now the most radioactive lawsuit in the industry. The chaos isn't hypothetical. It's already started. And Beyoncé, who has made a billion-dollar career out of never blinking first, may have finally found a crisis that can't be managed with a social media post or a carefully orchestrated Ivy Park drop. If Jay-Z's name keeps swirling around Aaliyah's last days, the wreckage of that plane crash, and now federal accusations tied to Diddy, then what sort of storm is about to break over the Carter empire?
I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public to make up their...
And just as we thought the storm couldn't get any wilder, the Diddy machine crumbles in real time. He's not just another celebrity scandal. He's now the face of a federal case so sprawling it makes headlines in courtrooms and group chats alike. Diddy stands accused of racketeering, trafficking, orchestrating what prosecutors call a network to lure and exploit young people through his business empire. Federal documents describe employees acting as his fixers, smoothing the trail, keeping his hands clean, until the receipts landed in the wrong inbox. We're watching a spectacle. Diddy behind bars, denied bail for the third time, a trial looming while lawyers toss around words like enterprise and trafficking with the casualness of an industry that's seen it all before. But here's the new twist. Jay-Z's name is now being dragged through the same muck, showing up in the same breath as Diddy's, not as a business rival or a party guest, but as a co-defendant. It's a collision of empires that once seemed untouchable.
This is what I look for. When I see a success, I'm looking for anything
to say that they didn't do it on their own?
Detain it, not the...
If you thought the scandals would stay contained to the legal system, think again. TikTok and X, formerly Twitter, are basically doing what tabloids used to do on steroids, serving up conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory to a generation that barely remembers Aaliyah alive. Now, the allegations morph and multiply. Beyoncé and Jay-Z aren't just music royalty, they're supposedly king and queen of some secret cult-like cabal. At least, that's what the TikTok sleuths want us to believe. Users spin up wild stories linking the Carters to every suspicious industry moment, from Aaliyah's plane crash to the loss of Lisa Left Eye Lopes and even Michael Jackson. Never mind that none of these stories have ever landed in a courtroom. What matters is that the algorithms feed the flames. Suddenly, public praise of Beyoncé at award shows looks to some like coded loyalty oaths. With every trending hashtag, the walls feel like they're closing in. No surprise then that Beyoncé is said to be in full panic mode behind closed doors. For over 20 years, she's been the gold standard for discipline, for perfection, for a version of female power that seems immune to scandal or setback. Now, Jason Lee's alleged tea threatens to expose her as someone out of control for the first time in her career. The rumors swirl that she's not just worried about her marriage, but about the entire fortress she's built. Her music, her brands, her legacy. The mere fact that these lawsuits are not just about Diddy, but now actively name Jay-Z, means every Carter business move is now shadowed by the possibility of nuclear fallout. The money behind the Ivy Park relaunch, the sponsors lining up for Renaissance. How many of them want to be in business with a family name trending for all the wrong reasons? The unspoken question is brutal. If Jay-Z's past turns out to be worse than Diddy's, does anyone survive the aftershock? How many words?
Testimony about what happened leading up to it need to be covered under a non-disclosure agreement if there wasn't foul play.
Now, mind you, September 11th happened a week later. 9/11 happened a week later. Do you think that took away from it?
Once again.
When we look back at what happened after Aaliyah's tragic end, it's impossible to ignore how quickly the music industry's most powerful players moved to take command of the story. Within days, labels and legal teams circled the wagons, making sure the official narrative stayed tight. A horrible accident, nothing more. But behind that controlled messaging, Aaliyah's family wasn't just mourning, they were lawyering up. Lawsuits hit the courts fast, targeting Instinct Productions, Black Hawk International Airways, and even Virgin Records, the very companies trusted to keep the singer safe. The claims were explosive, blaming negligence, botched planning, and an utter disregard for safety protocols. The public saw the headlines, but the legal battles happened mostly in the shadows. By 2003, those lawsuits disappeared as quietly as they had erupted. Settlements were reached, details sealed, and the parties signed non-disclosure agreements tighter than any industry contract. The money exchanged hands. Nobody talks about exactly how much, but what mattered most to the industry was that the ugly details never made it to trial. In a business where perception is reality, this kind of managed silence is worth more than any insurance payout. For the families, it was closure in name only. The rest of us were left with unanswered questions, and the certainty that, once again, the most powerful figures had managed to bury the mess. The effect was immediate and lasting. Aaliyah's mother and brother vanished from the spotlight. The label kept public statements brief, never addressing the mounting whispers about who pushed for that overloaded flight, or what last-minute calls were made in those final hours. With the facts hidden and the families refusing to speak, the world was handed a blank canvas. Conspiracy theorists, already suspicious of the industry's secretive ways, filled it with their own stories. The vacuum left behind became a breeding ground for every imaginable theory, some wild, some chillingly plausible. In the years that followed, each new scandal or lawsuit only fed the machine, teaching fans to see cover-ups and payoffs everywhere they looked. This context is exactly what makes the present moment so volatile. When Jason Lee threatens to spill the kind of secrets that could rewrite the Carter legacy, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. People are primed to believe the worst because history has trained them to expect that the truth will be buried for a price. The very silence that shielded Aaliyah's memory and protected corporate interests 2 decades ago is now a double-edged sword. If the public suspects a cover-up, every rumor sounds credible. Every new lawsuit or accusation is greeted not with shock, but with a grim sense of déjà vu.
I know so much on how you got where you are, how you stepped on many people.
So when we talk about Beyoncé's panic or Jason Lee's supposed arsenal of industry secrets, we're not just discussing one couple's crisis or a single viral rumor. We're talking about a culture built on the unspoken deal that what happens behind closed doors will stay there, unless, of course, the wrong person decides to talk. This is the shadow Aaliyah's story still casts over the industry, and why, even after all these years, the right scandal can threaten to bring the whole house down.
And we may actually see one of the biggest divorces in Hollywood is because Jay-Z is up next to be exposed.
What's even more fascinating is the way the industry insiders are suddenly buzzing about Beyoncé's next move. The gossip is almost surgical in its detail. Insiders whisper that she's already working on her exit strategy, reading contracts, gaming out what it would mean to distance herself if the worst headlines land. This isn't just crisis management, this is survival. Jason Lee, for his part, is framed as the gravedigger with a microphone, hinting that what he has isn't just embarrassing, it's the kind of information that could publicly humiliate Beyoncé, maybe even trigger the collapse of everything she's tried to build apart from Jay-Z. If Lee really does have receipts tying the Carters to the darker side of Diddy's empire, or if he can even just convincingly hint at it, then Beyoncé's days of invincibility may be done. But we're watching a game where the stakes are nothing less than the total rewrite of hip-hop history.
And very, very honored that I got the response and the open heart, and people welcomed the album. The love I got from the country community tonight really made me feel so seen, and I'm very grateful.
We don't have to stretch to imagine how quickly a reputation can fall apart. We've watched this before, the cancellations, the brands scrambling for the exits, the public statues toppled in a day after decades of admiration. Beyoncé, who has so often been cast as the industry's untouchable queen, is now rumored to be one headline away from disaster. There's a reason the panic is real. It's not just about guilt, but about survival in a world where being implicated is as good as being guilty in the court of public opinion. It's not just the music that could vanish overnight. It's the history books, the business partnerships, even the love of the fans who once believed the Carters could do no wrong.
Jay-Z got his whooped by his sister-in-law on camera. What's her name? Solange. You got it. The fans ain't step in and do nothing. The fans don't care about you getting your ass whooped.
What we're left with as this avalanche of lawsuits, leaks, and speculation grows is the image of Beyoncé standing on ground that suddenly looks more like quicksand than marble. If Jason Lee's tea goes public, if more accusers step forward, if one domino topples, there's no telling how fast the empire could fall. The online theories may be exaggerated, the connections may be speculative, but it's the sheer volume and velocity of scandal that threatens to drown out any attempt at damage control. Every TikTok, every legal filing, every resurfaced photo from the early 2000s seems to add another crack to the image. So the question nobody wants to ask out loud is this: is Beyoncé's panic proof that she already knows what's coming? Are the secrets about Jay-Z's connection to Aaliyah, the new lawsuits tying him to Diddy's fall, and the dark rumors Jason Lee claims to hold, are they the storm that finally ends the Carter dynasty for good, or is this just another tabloid fever dream that will pass like all the rest? We want to know what you think. Are these just wild stories, or is this the beginning of the end for music's most powerful couple? Drop your thoughts in the comments, tell us what rumors you've heard, and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next twist in this never-ending saga. Until next time, stay curious, and remember, in this game, the truth is always stranger than fiction.